Good morning, P6. It's time for us to think about Wednesday's maths lesson. Now, for today, we're going to begin by just going over, recapping what we've already looked at to do with decimals. So, we have so far learnt that 1 whole or 1 unit is the same as 10 tenths, which can be written like this or it can be written like this. Remember, if we take a shape and we divide it up into 10 equal parts, each part is 1/10 of that shape. If we take 10 of those tenths together, that's the same as 1 whole or 1 unit. And what we've been learning about over the last couple of lessons is that we can take these tenths and we can write them as what's called a decimal fraction. So I can have an ordinary fraction that has a numerator and a denominator. That's an ordinary fraction. Or I can turn it into what's called a decimal fraction. And in a decimal fraction, we have got a decimal point. And the number that was the numerator becomes the first number after the decimal point. That's the tenths number. So far we have been looking at fractions such as 3/10, and we have learned that 3/10, if it was written as a decimal, could be 0.3. If I had 5 out of the 10 parts, 5/10, then that would be written as 0.5. Can you think of another way that I could think about that 0.5? Well, 0.5, if I wrote another fraction, and we've already looked at this last week, it's actually the same as 1/2. But we'll come back to that again in the next lesson. Now, we have also then been thinking about our place value. And place value means thinking about what each digit means. So if I wrote down 1.0, well, that 1 is units. That 1 tells me that I've got 1 whole or 1 unit. And the 0 after it tells me that I don't have any extra tenths. 1.0 means 1 whole and 0 tenths. If I looked at another one, if I had 2.6, what does 2.6 mean? Well, the 2 is 2 units. The 0.6 tells me I've got 6 tenths. So 2.6 tells me I've got 2 units and 6 more tenths. Or, of course, that would be the same as 26 tenths. One more. What if I had 9.1? If I had 9.1, then that would be 9 units and 1/10, which would be 91 tenths. And a last one, 8.0, 8 full units, no tenths, or 80 tenths. Now, for that one, I could also just write down the number 8 on its own. 8 on its own is exactly the same as 8.0. They mean the same thing. By putting 0.0 after a number, it just tells me that I haven't got anything extra. But I could leave out that 0.0. 8, 8.0, they're exactly the same as each other. Now, that number after the decimal point, the tenths number, sometimes we'll write tenths like that, but sometimes we'll put a small t. Now, if we start getting into our bigger numbers, our tens and units and tenths numbers, it's really important that we understand the difference between tens and tenths. And if we're using our place value headings, so tens, units, tenths, can you see the difference between tens and tenths? The tens is written as a capital T. The tenths is written as a small t, or we'll write the fraction. Now, yesterday we were starting to think about adding. And if you remember yesterday's lesson, we were adding together either units and tenths numbers or tens and units and tenths numbers. So a very quick recap of that. We started off, we made sure that when we wrote out our question, we kept our decimal points straight underneath each other. And it's really important that in the answer we also have a decimal point. So I begin over at the right-hand side, as I always do in an adding calculation. So 3 plus 6, well, 3 plus 6 is 9. Nothing to carry over. 4 plus 7 is 11. So if I added 4.3 and 7.6, I would have 11.9. Let's see if we can do this one. So this one is a tens and units and tenths question. So I've got my decimal points under each other. I've kept my tenths underneath each other, the units, the tens. So 15.7 add 44.5. Okay, so we start with the tenths. So 7 add 5, P6 is, yeah, that's going to be 12. So put down your 2 and carry the little 1 over into the next column. 5 plus 4 plus 1. Well, 5 plus 4 is 9, and 1 more makes 10. So write down your 0, carry your 1. 1 plus 4 plus 1 is going to be, so what's my final answer say? 60.2. How would I set out this question, P6? 26.2 add 9.9. Well, let's have a think. If I think about my tens, units and tenths, 26.2 is 2 tens, 6 units and 2 tenths. Now, before I write in the 9.9, I'm going to put the decimal point in underneath the other decimal points. Where am I going to be putting the 9.9? Well, 9.9, the number before the decimal is the units, and the number after the decimal point is the tenths. So the tenths number has to be there. The units number has to go into the units column. I'm not putting anything into the tens. I need to be really careful that I write everything down in the correct place. So if I went to add this up, well, before I add it up, decimal point in for my answer. So 2 add 9, yep, that's going to be 11. 6 plus 9 plus 1, well, I would reorder them. 9 and 1 is 10, and 6 more is 16. 2 plus 1, 36.1. Now P6, that's all revision of what we were doing yesterday. Today's task is all going to be about subtraction. So what we're going to think about today is taking our units and our tenths, or our tens, units and tenths, and doing some subtraction. And it's no harder than doing any other subtraction question. All we need to do is make sure that we have our decimal points and we keep everything beautifully lined up. So let's have a go through these ones together. So I've lined up my question. I've got 8.5 take away 2.3. So 5 take away 3 is 2. 8 take away 2, 6. So what does my final answer say? 6.2. Let's make it a little bit harder. 9.1 take away 1.9. So top number, take away bottom number. 1 take away 9, I can't do. So I'm going to exchange. I'm going to take away one of these units. I'm going to exchange that for 10 tenths. So now instead of having 1 tenth here, I've got 11 tenths. 11 tenths take away 9 tenths is going to be 2. 8 take away 1, 7. So my final answer, 7.2. Let's make the numbers a little bit bigger. 30.3 take away 18.2. So just like any other question, we start over at the right hand side. 3 take away 2, I can do that, that's 1. 0 take away 8, I can't take anything away from 0, so go over into the tens, we'll do our exchange. So take away one of those tens, bring that 10 over into the units. So now I've got 10 units, take away 8. 10 take away 8 is 2. 2 take away 1, 1. So I've got 12.1. Help me out with this one. 54.2 take away 29.4. So start with the tenths. 2 take away 4, can't do. So go over to the units. 4 becomes a 3. Bring over that 1. And that now says 12 tenths take away 4 tenths is going to be 8 tenths. 3 take away 9. Can't do that one either, so I need to do another exchange. So we've now got 13 take away 9. And that's going to be 4. And 4 take away 2 is 2. So what does my final answer say? 24.8. How would we set out this one, P6? 71.4 take away 8.7. Well, just like we did with the adding question, let's think about our tens, our units, and our tenths. 71.4 is 7 tens, 1 unit, and 4 tenths. Take away 8.7. Put my decimal point in. The 8 is the units number, so it needs to go into the units column. The 7 is the tenths, so it needs to go into the tenths column. And now I would be ready to do that one. Now P6, for your tasks today, to start off with, you've got a choice of 2 pages. If you choose to do the higher level task, then you're thinking about a boat race. And in this boat race, lots of boats have to travel around a course. In the first question, you've been told that the boats are travelling a distance of 92.4 metres, and you're told how far each of the 6 boats has already travelled. What you'll need to do is do a takeaway calculation that starts with the 92.4 on the top, and then you need to take away for each question what's happened for each boat, the distance that it's already travelled. So if the boat called Sprite has already travelled 80.8 metres, and we want to know how far it's still got to go to the finish, which is 92.4 metres, we'll need to do a takeaway question. These are all in metres, so make sure you have metres in your answer. Similar sort of idea for question 2. Read the instructions carefully, P6, okay? Then part 3, you've got some more takeaway. Number 4, some takeaway questions as well. Number 5, try and do those ones in your head, do them mentally. And in number 6, you've got a bit of problem solving to do. That's the higher level activity. If you choose the lower level activity, then you're thinking about some model boats. And your model boats are also being compared. This time we're comparing how long they are. So we've got how long each of the boats is, and you need to work out how much longer one is than the other. Then we start to think about some real boats, like these ones that we can see here. Again, you're comparing their lengths. To start off with, if you choose this level, you won't be doing any exchanging. But when you get down to this part of the page, you will be doing some exchanging. So 2 levels to choose from. Once you've done that, I'd like everybody to have a go at today's extension task. For your extension task, you need to have a calculator. So get yourself a calculator. If you might have an actual calculator. If you don't, that's quite okay, P6. What you could do instead is go and get yourself your phone or a tablet and use the calculator app on each of those. Now for these questions, what we're thinking about are 6 boats: Sprite, Dawn, Imp, Storm, Hope and Fairwind. And they are competing in a boat race. And at the end of the race, they'll have earned points, but they might also have picked up some penalties. Perhaps they have cut out a flag, they've skipped out part of the race, or maybe they've got a time penalty somewhere along the way. So what you're going to do today is use a calculator and do some taking away. So the first boat in race 1, Sprite, earned 38.5 points. So I'm going to put 38.5 into my calculator. So 3, 8, use your decimal point 5. So I've got 38.5. But Sprite picked up 2 penalties. The first penalty it picked up was 0.7. So I'm going to take away 0.7. Now when I press equals, at that point it's given me the answer 37.8. But I still need to take away the time penalty. So I'm going to press my take away again. And now I'm going to take away the time penalty, which was 0.4. The final answer in my calculator says 37.4. So I write my answer in there. Then I go to my next race. So Sprite in the next race started off, clearing my screen, with 55.3 points. But it got 2 penalties. So I need to take away 1.5, press equals, then take away another 0.5, press equals. So Sprite's final score in race 2 was 53.3. So I write that into that box. In the third race, Sprite first of all got 38.4, but then lost 4.8, and then lost 1.9 points. So the final score in that race was 31.7. So now Sprite has scored 37.4, 53.3 and 31.7. The final thing I now need to do is I need to add these 3 scores together. So clear my calculator, 37.4 add 53.3 add 31.7, and I end up with a total score of 122.4. So by the time Sprite has done 3 races, that's Sprite's total score. What you need to do is use your calculator, do the same thing for Dawn, for Imp, for Storm, for Hope and for Fair Winds. And then at the end, you're looking to see which boat has the highest total score, which boat wins overall. So P6, use a calculator for that task. Don't try and do it in your head or do it on paper. Get a calculator. I'm sure you've got one somewhere that you can use. Good luck.